Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining our OLT online software training today. My name is Ruby. I'll be organizing today's session with Armando as our presenter. Each of you should have access to a GoToWebinar toolbar. This toolbar provides you a feature to post questions that are relative to today's session. Our team will be monitoring and managing this throughout the webinar. So for any questions that may be useful for all, we will cover this at the end of the session. At this point, we'll go ahead and review what we're going to cover. And so today's session, we will cover the dashboard, client search features, tax return features, which include preparation, navigation, managing the return or the manage return section rather, printing, remote signature, and then getting you all the way through e-filing a return. So now we'll go ahead and turn the floor over to Armando so he can begin his presentation. Thank you.
Good morning or afternoon. Appreciate you all joining us for this training session of the software. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. What you're seeing right now is our dashboard. This is the first screen you see when you log in, and you'll be living here during the tax season. Let's go over the lay of the land a little bit here. So across the top, you have returns. 17 returns in this particular software. We have 6 that are ready to e-file. We have no checks to print. We have 1 appointment made for today. And we have 1 that the return has been completed, but the invoice has not been marked as paid. Talking about the buttons down here on the left, the return button and the client button take you to the same spot, to your list of clients. From here, it looks like you have a lot of buttons across the top, but they're very simple. They're just filters. So an amended list would show you just your amended returns. Your paper list is just your paper filed returns. Completed are the returns that are completed and ready to file. Incomplete, something is missing in these returns and we have not marked them as complete. As well, you have your unpaid invoices and your paid clients. We'll talk about the My Tax Office clients in a little while. I'll show you the text summary in a little bit. And the economic stimulus payment, or EIPs, is here left over from 2020 because you can still use this view in the 2020 software. Moving down on the left here, we have our e-file button. This right here is our queue, our transmit queue. For example, Jill Romo was created and was not filed immediately. From this view, we could select her or several returns if you had several in here and transmit them all at the same time or remove them from queue. Pay special attention to the end here, to this color. This color right here matches up to the colors across the top. So if you have a return that you have just sent, it would be queued. Notice how the federal is queued. If you had a state, it would also be queued. Accepted would have your green, they would be in green. Rejected would be this red color. Transmitted would be in blue. And unfiled, you can see the different colors. It even has this gray color that's saying, hey, this particular California is a paper filed. So many times you could have, for example, in this return, the federal could be an accepted, and then the California or the state could be grayed out because it was paper filed. Again, like the toolbar on the last screen, extension, bank are just different filters to this view. If you wanted to see which extensions you had just filed, or maybe what bank products are queued, accepted, or rejected, you can do so in that way. So let's go ahead and just actually jump in to a return. That's what we're all here for. So I'm going to go ahead and click on add a new return. When I add a new return, I'm going to go ahead and put in a social. If you're applying for an ITIN, you may select apply for W7 from here or from within the return. When I press enter, the software opens up. I'm going to go ahead and create a return. It doesn't matter if you type in uppercase or lowercase, the software will, upon saving, change everything into uppercase. If you prefer uppercase, go ahead and toggle uppercase with a caps lock. The navigation in the software is done using your tab button. So 0505-2000, I'll tab and go ahead and make this person a manager. This is where your IP PIN, if the taxpayer does have an IP PIN from identity being stolen, is where you would key it in. The next section down, all these checkboxes are normal in every software. They may be in different orders, but this is where you can say that this person is a dependent of another, if they're a student, blind, deceased, so on and so forth. The next section in the software asks about a 1095A or healthcare. Did they have a 1095A? If I were to answer the yes button, then it'll take that taxpayer to the proper form and you have to complete the form. In this scenario, I'm going to just say no. Filing statuses is a simple drop down. If I select married filing joint, it's going to go ahead and ask for the spouse information. The return I'm going to be doing today is a head of household, so you can see how the software switches and deletes the spouse information. I'm going to go ahead and put in an address and tab down to the zip code field. When you tab out of the zip code field, it will add the city, state, and zip code for you. I'm going to scroll down and just key in an email address. And I'm going to add my phone number. You can scroll down a little further. You can see where it has added the state of Texas. If this person lived in another state, you can select that yes, they did, or if they even worked in a different state, you can select that they did and then add the additional states. That would create non-resident other states. You can also add an additional state within the W-2 or by clicking this little plus mark here at the top once it becomes available to us. If you have a taxpayer that prefers to have their forms printed in Spanish, you may check this box and the software will print forms in Spanish. Scrolling down just a little bit, this is where you would put in your direct deposit information. Select checking or savings. The routing is a double blind entry and the account number. If you have a state and are going to use the same deposit information for the state, you may do so by selecting this checkbox at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and click save for a moment. You can use Control S to save at any moment. If you don't want to scroll to the bottom of the page, Control S covers that as well. I'm going to stop here for a moment and just talk about the lay of the land once again. We have a verify button here. The verify button verifies the return and looks for any errors, any e-filing errors, and it will let you know how to fix them. We will touch on that in a moment. A complete return is basically a button that lets you wrap up that return. Complete it, you mark it as complete, finish it off, add an invoice, and then you're able to transmit it. Override I can show you what it looks like. I have not had to overwrite anything in this software as of yet. Workpad, I will demonstrate to you in a Schedule C. View and print, well, there's nothing special there. You can view the return in PDF or you can print it. Notes is kind of interesting. You can click on notes. You can put in, for example, missing info and need to get copy of dependents SSN. You can turn on a reminder if you'd like. And every time you come into the return, this message will pop up. I'm just going to add a note. Once you exit this return and come back into it, the notes will have a small pink number here of how many notes you have. Assets I will demonstrate in a moment. So DM Docs is a document manager. This is something that I think it would be beneficial to all offices. It's a place for you to keep all of your documents electronically without having to have physical copies of them. If I go into DM Docs, I have two options. I have upload document and scan document. If the customer had emailed me their documents, or if I had them scanned into the program or into your computer, I could go to upload document. I can say, for example, ID, selected identification, and then search in my computer to wherever I had put them, select them, and upload that document. This ID becomes part of my file. This little scan button, the first time I clicked on the scan button, it turned on the camera on my computer. All of a sudden, I'm seeing my face in the computer, and I was like, what's really going on here? So the scan button was created in case you're gone or off site with a laptop and you need to scan documents into the program. You can easily click scan documents, hold them in front of your laptop camera, and click the scan button. It'll take a picture and upload them into the software. I was trying to figure out a way how to use that application in the software at my office scenario. This is what I've come up with. I ordered a couple of these online, different versions, different model numbers. They're about 95, 100 bucks. They basically are they're a camera, a document camera that you could hook in via USB to your computer. And it has a light. This is basically what it looks like on my computer. Okay, it's about 10 inches tall, 4 or 5 inches at the base. It even comes with a dark mat, so you can use as a background there. But the way it works is that I can click on training, for example, go back to my document manager. I can select scan document, put in, for example, W-2, that it's income, and capture the document. I can then upload the document. And now I have my document, my ID, social securities, and anything else I choose to upload right here. I can resize this window so I can read it. I can pull it off screen if I have two monitors and work off of it if I need to. So just a side note of how I use the document manager and what I've purchased to make it work for me in my scenario. Moving on to married filing joint versus married filing separate. Well, it'll break down your return so you can see the differences between one filing and the other. Attachments, certain forms in this program let you attach addendums. For example, a Schedule D or an 8949. You can send up all the stock documents and what have you. A calculator is nothing special. It's just a calculator that you can use. Signature is one of the places that you can grab the signatures from the taxpayers. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and at this point talk about the section at the right. These are IRS links. If I click into these links, it'll open up the IRS website and give me whatever subject I clicked on. For example, if I click on IP PIN, it's going to open up the IRS website. Let me go ahead and do that. Talking about the IP PIN, where I can simply apply for a PIN or maybe scroll down and figure out where to retrieve a PIN. The section here at the bottom left would show me a refund or balance due. One other area to take note of at the moment are these buttons here, all forms versus filed forms. All forms are all the forms within the return. Filed forms are just the forms within this particular return. And of course, at the top, you do have a search for form, which we will use shortly. A lot of softwares have the client demographics, ID, dependent information all on one screen. In this particular software, it is broken down into 3 screens. The first section, what I'm going to do here, once I finish the personal information, is go to the additional information, where I can select their ID type right here. From here, I can come down and select driver's license. I can tab down to Texas, key in their ID, and then put in the expiration. The next section, I could put any notes that I might have to put in regarding their identification. These next 3 questions, I just want to stop and talk about for just a moment. This is for taxpayer identity verification if they're here in person. I could be very detailed with my due diligence. If I were to click yes, it will ask me additional questions. Have you verified possession of a current primary government ID that contains applicant's picture and either address or record of nationality? Once I click this, it will ask me if I validated it and if I verified it and if I have a different second kind of ID. The software will let you get through just saying no without validating this information. Just be sure you have those documents on file in case of an IRS audit. It's the same thing with the second question. This is just different questions if you were doing a remote return. This last question, if you have a taxpayer that prefers to get any written communications from the IRS in a different language, if you click yes, you can pick any of the languages you would like the taxpayer to receive that communication from the IRS in. I'm going to go ahead and select no for now, and then just hit save. Remember, you can use Control S at any time. Continuing down the left side, the next section I'm going to use is dependent info. We use this grid in many of our screens. You will definitely get used to it. I'm going to go ahead and click on Add New. Let's go ahead and just put in Cindy. Put in her last name. For the relationship, I can use D for daughter, S for son. I can use P for parent, or I can just click on the drop down and make my choices. Again, I am tabbing in the software from line to line. Her date of birth is 05/05/2017, making her 5 years old. The Social Security is a double-blind entry. If your dependent happen to have an IP PIN number, this is where you would key it in. Special note right here, most softwares, or many softwares I should say, require you to go to a head of household worksheet to key in where that dependent lived and how many months they live with the taxpayer in order to qualify the taxpayer for a head of household return. This software only requires you to check this box, head of household qualifier. Okay, it's right here. If you have several dependents, at least one dependent must have that checked off, or your verify at the end of the return will give you an error saying, hey, you need to have one dependent to qualify the taxpayer for HOH. If you had a 2441, you can simply key in the amount that they paid the tax, whoever watched the childcare provider, and then you click on the link to the 2441, the dependent will be there, and then you just complete the 2441 with the care provider's information. I'm going to go ahead and click on the Save button just to show you what an error looks like. When you save or Control S on any page, the software doesn't just save, it also verifies that particular page. To see what that error is, if you were to click on that red little button, it tells you. You have to answer the question regarding the Affordable Care Act. So if I answer no, and instead of S, I do Control S, it saves my dependents. I can easily add additional dependents if necessary and keep moving on. Let's go ahead and talk about adding income. You have two options. One option is to go to your 1040 and Schedule 1. Each of these lines have a link that is active to get you to the form that will report onto your 1040 or Schedule 1. Notice if I scroll down, I have Schedule 1, where I can reach my Schedule C, 4797, so on and so forth. I could just as well, up here in the upper left-hand corner of my search, this is what I usually use, I could put in W2, and you can see it highlights it for me. Maybe I have a 1099G, and it brings it up for me. Maybe it's a 1098T or E. It does it very simply. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and add a W2. I type in W2 and press my Enter button. It opens up that same familiar grid where I'm going to go ahead and start keying in some income. I'm going to go ahead and click on Add New. Special note right here at the top is where you would select primary or spouse. It is defaulted to primary already. I'm going to go ahead and key in an employer ID, and the software should bring forward the W2 employer information as long as you've keyed it in before, or if you had it in a previous return. I'm going to scroll down to the wages section of this, $22,500, and put in $2,000. Notice it does auto-calculate 3, 4, 5, and 6. If I was to add a 401k to this return, select my code, and I put in, let's say, $500, you will see where it will automatically update 3, 4, 5, and 6. If I don't want to go to the bottom to save, I can just simply Control S. It saves it and brings it back to my grid. The grid becomes very handy when I have several W-2s because you can easily scroll up and down to verify that you have not missed any W-2s. Let's go ahead and add a Schedule C to this return. The easiest way to add a Schedule C is by clicking your search and pressing the letter C, and then just enter on your keyboard. It brings in a familiar grid. You know you're at Schedule C because right here, Schedule C is highlighted. And at the top, it does say profit or loss from business summary. When I click Add New, it opens up a Schedule C. It will bring in the state that the Schedule C is from, Usually it's the resident, maybe it's a different one, different state, and you would have to make that selection. And here is either primary or spouse. Let's say this is a janitorial services. I'm going to say this is cleanup. So when it comes to these pick lists, I haven't come across software that handles this very efficiently. Yes, I can click the link. Yes, I can search through to figure out what this person business code is, select it and save it. I found that it's much more efficient to open a browser tab and just key in IRS business code for whatever the case may be, janitorial services. It shows my NAICS code. I can just copy and Control V to paste it in that section. All right, it seems pretty simple, pretty quick to do it in that fashion. If I scroll down, you have some check boxes you may or may not have to answer. And moving down, excuse me, and moving down to the income section. I'm going to go ahead and put in some cash. I'm going to put in $5,000. I also had an NEC. So perhaps I can click on my NEC link. That links me back to this familiar box where we can add additional income on a 1099 NEC. I will click the Add New. I will key in the EIN, and I'm going to key in an amount of $15,800. Now that we have the NEC in, we have to tell the software where we're going to link this to, because it's possible that this NEC is going to several different areas of the software. This scenario would be Schedule C. You may also use this pick list and select your Schedule C and use. You can save or use Control S, and it'll return you to the same section where you can add additional 1099 NECs. The easiest way to get back to your Schedule C is to click in the search, type C and enter, and then go to edit your Schedule C. Here you'll see your income, your 1099 NEC income, and your total 20,800. Coming down a little bit here, I want to talk about this little workflow box here, or Workpad, the same as we had up here. You could key in just $1,000 of advertisement in if you like. If I wanted to keep a detailed summary of it, I can click on that little Workpad and it gives me this box. I can go ahead and type in social media, maybe $500. Maybe I can do flyers, 200. Business cards, say $117, and save it. If you look down to that area, you'll see that the software has now changed the color of that field to reflect that we have details behind that field that you can get to. I'm going to go ahead and add a few expenses. Let's say some office expense. I'm going to go ahead and get some contract labor in here. Let's say that was $1,800. Repairs and maintenance, let's say it was $950. Maybe some insurance, $2,000. And maybe they did a little bit of traveling, $804. If I had additional expenses that are not covered in this top section, I could scroll down to other expenses, click on the green box, and we can detail these expenses. Cell phone, let's say it was 910, and maybe internet services, let's say 650. I can go ahead and save this. So we've got a Schedule C created, minus expenses. We're at $12,000. Let's go ahead and add some depreciation and perhaps some mileage. So there's two ways to get to your 4562. You can click the form where it says car and auto, or you may do it directly from the assets depreciation. It's going to bring us to the same spot. I know where I'm at because the 4562 is in red, or highlighted, I should say, and depreciation and amortization is at the top. I'm going to go ahead and add the form. Notice it's already flowing to my Schedule C. We have two sections here. Property information, where you would add your assets, and down at the bottom, the information for your vehicles, if it's an automobile or a truck that you use for work. I'm going to go ahead and add computer desks. Let's say we bought two of them, 03/03/2021, and let's say we purchased them for, I don't know, $1,850. If you were going to Section 179 them, this is where you would do it. If you feel that you have the knowledge or you want to go down through each of these and select a specific category or classification, you can do that. I use this Help Me button. It's a godsend for me. I click on Help Me. I look for the type of asset that I have. It's office furniture in this scenario. And I apply and close. It fills it out for me. Nothing else I need to do. I can use Control S, or I can scroll to the bottom and click Save. You can see the depreciation of $453. It's right here. Let's go ahead and add a little bit of mileage to this. I go to Section B. Do you have evidence to support the business investment you're claiming? Yes. Is the evidence written? Yes. I'm going to go ahead and add a new. Let's say this is a Toyota truck. I'm going to put in a date of 10/20/2021. And let's say we had 2,180 miles in the first half of the year. Second half of the year is only 2018. Maybe had some personal miles, let's say 20,180. 17% use shows up for business. I do have to answer these due diligence questions, depending on your scenario. And then let's say that they did have some parking and mileage or tolls that they paid. When I click Save, it'll bring me back to my depreciation, and it'll show the mileage amount that I have right here. I can press Control S to say close this page. I want to bring your attention to this section at the bottom right where it reads Forms. I've been doing taxes for a couple of years, let's say, not to date myself. I can actually look at a Schedule C, as many of you can, and the taxes have to read like a book. Does it make sense or does it not? So if you click on Schedule C, it pops open a quick Schedule C that you can see your expenses on it to make sure that it is looking right, it is looking proper, and that you did not make an error in keying in the return. From here, I can also click on the 4562 to see my depreciation. If I'd like, I can go to the depreciation part of it, excuse me, list of assets, and show computer desks and what have you. If I had several assets, it would show a list of assets and total down at the bottom. I can print these for a customer. I can print just the Schedule C from here. It depends on what I need to do at the moment. So if you look at this button here called Assets and you click on it, it shows your assets and it shows the cost or basis, how much your current depreciation is, and at the bottom it'll show 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27, the depreciation moving forward. You could do that for Schedule C, Schedule E, Schedule F, so on and so forth, depending on what's in your return. So just to recap, this return is an HOH, head of household. It's got a dependent. We've added for income a W-2. We have a Schedule C. We have depreciation. We have a refund down here in the bottom left of $3,675. It's a pretty healthy return with information in it. For training purposes, I'm trying to keep it somewhat short, not to keep you here too long. So let's go ahead and verify and see if we have any errors in this return. I'm going to go ahead and use this button at the top that says verify. It's showing we have 3 errors. This is a paper filing error because we have not added the 8879. This is a critical error, which means it would be rejected from the IRS. Critical errors you must fix before sending the return off. And then we have a non-critical or a warning error that will let us get through the return and e-file it because it's not going to make a change to this particular return. Let's go ahead and click the link for the first error, and it's going to bring us to our 8879. I know that's where I'm at because I show it here highlighted at the left, and here in red, IRS e-file signature authorization. All I need to do for this page is click Auto Generate PIN and save it. When I click Verify once again, you'll see that one error is gone, and I have a due diligence requirement. So the next error, I'm going to click here to fix. Once again, these boxes that we're used to, go ahead and click New, and then we have our due diligence questions that we need to answer. After reading through them a few times, you'll know exactly where to click for them. If I answer yes to number 5, I can attach an explanation of any documents that I might have. I'm going to go ahead and answer yes, yes, and no. I'm going to continue with my 8867, answering the questions that I need to. And then one final yes. I particularly like this section of the 8867. I can put other notes. I can put any specific note that I want to bring attention to. Maybe see 8867 above, what have you. I can select where this information came from, taxpayer, spouse, both, or other, and I can request that the taxpayer sign this information. When I click Save, error is gone. Here on the right-hand side, I just wanted to mention and show you the 8867. Again, it shows up in a PDF, and yes, it's just a regular 8867. But at the top, I have the Prepare Notes. Once I click on the Prepare Notes, you can see the notes that I actually keyed in. And then at the bottom, has a date where you received this information from, and by signing below, you verify that the above information was provided by you and is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge. It's nice to have this in case of an IRS audit. That's part of your file. If I click verify, notice I have this button that says ignore and continue. That button was not there when we had other errors. Now that all critical errors are taken care of, this is just non-critical or just a warning, I can click ignore and I can go ahead and complete this return. I can click this return has been completed. I can mark it as reviewed, and then I can select paper file or electronically file this return. When I click save and close, it will bring me to the back to a list of all of my returns. I rarely use that button. I normally go and click on the save and redirect to manage returns button. When I click this, it brings me to a screen that has quite a bit of information on it regarding this particular taxpayer. Notice I can go back in to edit a return. I can go ahead and view and print the return. I can view my input files or input sheets. The delete button is not available because the return is marked as complete. If I was to mark this return as incomplete, you could see now that my button is active and I may delete this return. For this demo, we're going to go ahead and select it as complete. Password protect. You can password protect any particular return so that nobody else can log into your return. For example, if I'm the business owner and I don't want somebody seeing my return, I just create a password for it and it is locked. Appointments. You can create additional appointments if necessary for this particular client right from here. It'll open up your schedule. You pick the date and time and go ahead and create that appointment. Letters will send out any follow-up letters from the default letters. You can also create letters, additional letters, if you want to send custom letters. Here's our notes. Notice that pink little one right there is just because we have one note. If you open it back up again, you can click on the eyeball and see the notes. Once you have it taken care of, you can go ahead and delete it and then just move on. So there are a couple of ways when it comes to getting this return ready to send for e-file. First of all, every return in this program needs to have an invoice. It's just something you have to have in order to send the return. The reason for it is if you're doing a bank product and you forget to put in your fees and you send it off, you likely are not going to get paid. In an e-file scenario, yes, you would ask for the money up front, but in order to cover everybody, it's just a requirement that we have a payment method on file. So notice your personal information across the middle. You have your refund amount, and then this yellow warning. E-file option not available due to payment not complete for this return. And you can see where the e-file button is not available. I'm going to go ahead and start payment on this return. In the upper right, you're going to click on Add New Payment or New Invoice. This is totaled out because I have preset a per form fee in the program. If you choose to just put in a fee at the end of the return, you could let the program, you can select in the program, I'm going to key in my own fee, and it would just have a box for you to key in the fee. If I wanted to modify charges, I have a few examples here. Maybe this is a new customer, and that would apply a discount of $35. Maybe they're going to print the return, and in that scenario, I want to charge them $20 more. You can do that. You can also key in a manual discount at this point. I'm going to go ahead and just click continue. Here's my $35 discount. Down here at the bottom, I have only a federal return. If I was filing or paying for state, it would also show state. If this is going to be a bank product, I would select banking and move on to the bank application to get it ready for submitting. I'm going to go ahead and click on continue. Do you want to make payment now? Sure. You can select how you were paid and if you want to mark it as paid. If I say no to this or no to the invoice, it would be added to our non-paid returns under our e-file tab here. But for now, I'm just going to say yes, that they paid me, and no, that I do not want to e-file it because this return is not signed. So I'm going to go back to my Manage Returns here at the bottom. Now you can see that the Transmit button is available to me. I don't want to send the return quite yet because I have not captured the signature. If the client is in front of you, you could click on Sign Return, Start Return. If you have a signature pad, they can use your signature pad to sign. If they don't, they could also use a mouse by clicking Start and using their mouse. The spouse, the same way. In this particular return, I want to use the My Tax Office. When I go into my tax office, I have two options. I have a client portal that has full access and a remote signature only. In this particular demo, I'm going to use a remote signature only. I'm going to go ahead and select remote signature, click on continue. I will need to verify the phone number or the email address if I'm going to send the link by email, and select the proper radio button. This is going to be an SMS, and I'm going to go ahead and click on Send Link. The program quickly verifies that you have sent a link to the user. I'm going to go ahead and click right here where it reads Back to Manage Returns. The next time you go to My Tax Office, it looks a little bit different. It shows a little bit of history. It lets you know that you could send a remote signature again within 24 hours. It shows that the signature has not been uploaded yet. The client has not reviewed the return. I'm going to go ahead and click back, and I'm going to show you for a moment here what it looks like from a taxpayer's perspective, what they receive in their phone to sign. I'm quickly trying to connect my phone. This is the text that they will receive. That says, My Tax Office Remote Signature. When they click on that, it will ask them to verify identity. In this case, key in my name. I'm going to scroll down and verify my credentials with my social. 595959. I will have to verify once again my social. And then the last piece of verification is the date of birth. I'll go ahead and select 05, 05. I think I used 2000 if I'm not mistaken. And then at the bottom, you have a validate user. Once I click the validate user, my phone actually connects with the program. I'm connected via Bluetooth to the computer, so there is a small lag. If I had a PDF viewer installed, I could click on each of these links and view each form. You could even print them from the phone. I'm going to go ahead and click at the bottom that I have reviewed this return. The next screen that comes up asks me if I want to actually electronically sign the return, and then I will click Continue. It shows that there's no primary signature found as of yet. I'll go ahead and click Start the signature and just sign with my finger. I'll go ahead and click that is done, and then I'll mark it as complete. Once the taxpayer has completed the signature portion, let me move the phone out of the way for you. The taxpayer preparer can go back into My Tax Office, and now you can see that the signature has been uploaded and the client has reviewed the return. The next step that I always take, because I try to be a paperless office, is I will go to View and print that return. From my View Print menu, I always click Export to Document Manager. What this does is that it brings a copy of this return and it puts it in my Document Manager over here with my ID and my W-2. If I want to email a copy of the return to the taxpayer, I can remove the Prepare checkbox and select Email Customer Copy. If I need to append or change the email address, I can do so and simply just send the email. I can print a full copy of the customer's return by clicking Customer Copy. If I want to print only the signature pages, I select Signature Pages, and that will print only the signature pages. You can see the signature, taxpayer, and preparer, and then all the way down to the 8879 where it's also signed. If I wanted to be very specific in what I'm printing, I could also just select what I want to print or what I do not want to print down here in the bottom left. And then I can click on Print Selected Forms, and it will print only the selected forms. Let's jump into the document archive real quick, or my document manager, where you can see now that I have my ID, I do have my W-2, and now I have a copy of that signed return. Okay. So I've saved money on ink, I saved money on paper. If I can get my taxpayer to accept the return via email, I don't even have to print them a copy. So I've saved a ton of money. To transmit this return, I click on the Transmit button, where I will select 1040, and the state would show up if you had a state. And then I can add it to the queue, or I can transmit it now. I'm going to go ahead and just add it to queue, just to show you where it shows up. If I go back to my e-file button, here's that return added to the queue. And you can see that the color is this brownish color, and it is unfiled. So with that said, I think we're concluding the training of this portion of the software. And let's go ahead and turn this over to Ruby.
Thank you, Armando. Great job. So we did have several questions throughout the session that I think are probably worthy of discussing. And if there are any additional questions, please post them now. I'll run through some of what we've already seen submitted. If some of you haven't seen these answers, I think it's just worthy of getting it out there now. So do you have to resend an empty transmit to get e-file updates is what one customer asked here. You do not have to transmit to pull in the e-file status, whether it's a reject or an accepted return. Does the program have business? This program does offer the ability to do business returns. And at the bottom, I also posted there's the ability to do an 1120S, 1120, 1065, 1041, 990, 720, 706, 2290, 709, 5500, and 8849. I apologize, but that is a ton. There is no charge for remote signatures. Thank you for asking that just now because that is a great feature of this tool and product. That we are not, the software is not attempting to gain in any aspect with the ability to collect those remote signatures. So use them as you wish. No need to use an outside software or source um, with respect to the current year. So another question that was asked is, if you click on a form link, does it save your entries? Or do you need to click save and control? I actually tested this and I found that it will not let you exit the form until it's completed. So you do need to click save and make sure that those entries are set before you proceed. So Control S will get you there. It's pretty fast. I know it can be a little silly sometimes having to scroll down and find that save button. So please use that Control S because it does come in handy. How do you practice returns? Within each individual return that you create, there is a practice return feature. So please use that to do any type of practicing that you'd like to. The 2023 software, is it out? Not yet. So tax year 2023 returns cannot be created quite yet, but we should have that out soon. And then that is all. So if there are no further questions, I think we are set. You guys have the phone number and email for our team. So please give us a call. We would appreciate any questions, comments, anything you'd like to see on a future webinar would be something that we would certainly love to hear. And no, there's another question that just got posted. There is no use for that customer portal either. So if you have someone that is very technical savvy, when I'm speaking with my customers that I assist with setup, I always make sure to tell them, if you have someone savvy, give them that portal. It's a great use for them to be able to go in, review their own returns, print their own returns. They don't have to bug you to get a copy of that because it's there and they have the ability to do that themselves. Thank you again, everyone, for your time today. And it looks like we have one more. Give me 1 second. Couple more, actually. I'll give it some time to have some come in. So let's see. Will there be short videos on how to use features? Yes, there will. We will actually provide you with several of the things that you'll need to make sure that you get started. So if you would like to utilize the business software or creating any 1120s or returns that I mentioned before, please get with your account manager so that you can discuss that. E-filing fees are specific to each customer, so you'll definitely want to talk about that with your actual account manager. And then I think that is all at this moment. Perfect. So another question. There is a mobile app that you can get from the App Store. It is My Online Taxes. And inside the software, when you are at the prepare setup, each prepare is provided with an individual code. So the app is available to use to pull in returns. And the good thing about utilizing that mobile app, and great question, Ms. Carter, is that you don't have to pull it in. You don't need a submission code. You don't need any kind of feature to pull in a mobile app submission. At the point in which someone submits a mobile app return using your unique preparer code, it is automatically available inside your client list. You receive notifications to let you know that it's there and available for you the next time that you log in. So the mobile app is another great feature, and we hope to have a video out for you guys soon. I think I've got them all. Great questions, team. I appreciate all of the interaction and every one of you in attendance, and all of these questions are great feedback for us to be able to use on future sessions. So thank you so much. You have a great day.